Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Comedian and motivational speaker Ernie G is today's guest. Ernie will talk about his incredible experiences in comedy and how empowering young people became his passion.
Comedian and motivational speaker Ernie G. Welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If I may correct you, so I don't use motivational speaker. I use empowerment comedian.
That's even better. I love it.
And it's funny because I actually say that when I speak at schools, because a lot of kids have had a motivational speaker, and the motivational speakers, I don't know, the phrase motivational speaker has like this negative connotation to a lot of people, especially after that Chris Farley sketch from Saturday Night Live. I'm a motivational speaker.
Right.
And I live in a van down by the river.
Right.
Oh, if you live in a van down by the river, you probably need to listen to your own motivational tapes, you know? So I use empowerment comedian.
I love it. We're going to talk about empowerment later, so I love that. So I looked over your resume and I did the math, and I don't want to scare you. According to my calculations, you work 27 hours a day. So you have a problem.
Absolutely. Well, when you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
So my father used to always say that, and he whistled, whistle while you work. And that's so true. When I was an educator for 33 years, that is something that is so true. It's an old saying, but oh my goodness, it has so much merit. So Ernie, let's talk about your life in the early years. When you were younger, were you the class clown?
Well, I wasn't good looking enough. I wasn't smart enough, and I wasn't a good enough athlete. So the only way to get attention from the girls was to make them laugh.
Oh.
So yeah, I have a vivid memory I used to talk about on stage. In kindergarten, we had something, this is how chauvinistic that it was back in the 70s. When I was in kindergarten, we used to have kissing clubs. So you know how you would pick soccer teams or football or basketball teams? Okay, all the guys would line up on the wall. Okay, you're on that team, you're on that team. We would pick kissing clubs, and the guys would pick the girls. Okay, you kiss with him, you kiss with her. And I wanted to kiss with Yvette, who was the cute girl with the dark skin and the beautiful eyes. And I go, oh, I pick Yvette. And she was like, no, I don't want to kiss Ernesto. I was like, dun, dun, dun. And all my buddies like, it's okay, dude. You can kiss Dora. Kiss Dora. And Dora was this redhead, freckle-faced girl. And I just remember when we went under the tables, we would put like blankets over the tables, and we'd go under there and we'd have kissing clubs. And I didn't know what kissing was or making out. I just knew you were supposed to rub your face against her face. And long story short, I just remember her warm, hot breath all over and I was like, oh, I don't get the Yvettes in life. I get the Doras in life. And the only way to get the Yvette was to make them laugh. And I got good at making girls laugh because of, oh, I don't want to kiss Ernesto. That still hurts to this day.
That's great. It brings back memories because we had something back then called, when I was in 6th grade, boy-girl parties. And we played spin the bottle. And I don't know. I don't think I'd have to say I wasn't a good look. I thought I was a cute kid, but I had braces. So it turned on my Yvette, and my Yvette, whose name was Darcy, said, I don't want to kiss him. I'm gonna cut my lips on his braces. So imagine what that did to my self-esteem. So that's interesting. So it parallels itself. I have to tell you, I'm so glad that you corrected me, and then it highlights out more the empowerment comedian, because I want to talk about comedy for a second. You have to be a very special person with a very special mindset to take the leap and do comedy full time. And I'm going to say why. So people say I have a decent sense of humor. When I taught in school, I think the magic of being in my classroom was I was a selfish teacher, and I told the kids, I'm selfish. If I don't have a good year, you're not having a good year. I better enjoy myself because I like laughing and making people laugh. But I have to tell you, I've had friends that have told me, Marc, you should be a comedian. I'd say, I could be a comedian if everyone in the audience was someone I knew and a family member.
Exactly.
I said, but let me tell you something, seriously. If I tell a joke and somebody doesn't laugh, that's my last joke for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
So I don't get it. I don't get it. What made you decide to take that leap? I think it's so courageous because the lives of comedians, it's not what everybody thinks, certainly not initially. What made Ernie G say, I can do this and I can do this full time?
Wow. So the first time I ever saw a stand-up comedian, I was in 6th grade, and my mom's best friend's son, who was my buddy, said, dude, you got to see this guy. And he put a big fat cassette tape into the VCR, and he pressed play, and it was George Carlin at Carnegie Hall. And I had never seen a guy just standing at a microphone talking and telling jokes and making people laugh. The only time I would always crack up at cartoons or sitcoms, but I'd never seen a guy just standing there. And what fascinated me was that it was the first time I'd ever seen a white man say the word Hispanic or Latino with a smile on his face. And because usually when you heard Latino in the 70s, it was Latino assailant or the Latino burglar or Latino, illegal immigrant or whatever. But he said, do you know that the Mexican hat dance was written by 2 individuals? A lot of people don't know this. The first guy went, da-da, 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 and the second guy went, da-da, 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 da-da. If it wasn't for the second guy, the Mexican hat dance would have gone, da-da, 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 da-da. So I'm sitting there cracking up, and it blew my mind that a white guy was saying Mexican with a smile, and everyone's laughing. And I'm like, who is this guy? I want to meet him. And so that's when I fell in love with comedy. But the moment I decided I wanted to be a comedian, we went to go see Eddie Murphy Raw in person. So Eddie Murphy Delirious had already come out on HBO. And I had watched that so many times that I memorized every line of Eddie Murphy Delirious and did it for friends at sleepovers. And then when Eddie Murphy Raw, the tour came out, this is before the movie. When the tour came out, we went to the Forum where the Lakers play basketball. And, there were like 40,000 people. And I remember before Eddie Murphy got up on stage, he had the Busboys open for him and everyone's jamming and singing. And then I'll never forget, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Eddie Murphy. And white people, black people, Asian people, Jewish people, Middle Eastern people, we like 40,000 people stood up and screamed. And he was wearing that cheesy leather outfit that he wore. And he was cocked to the side and he just looked and he grabbed the microphone. He goes, what's up, y'all? And I went, dude, I'm doing that one day. And that was the moment I got infused with that energy. And long story short, fast forward, I'd say 20 years, I got to open for a very famous mariachi in Phoenix, Arizona, at the America West Arena, in front of 20,000 people, and I'm doing my closing bit. I'm opening for a mariachi band, and there was like 20,000 people at this Christmas event, and I did my joke. I talked about the Latin lovers. I used to do this bit about nobody can kiss like a Latin lover kisses. And I did the punchline, bam, and then everyone's cracking up. Ah! I said, I'm Ernie G, I'm out of here. And 20,000 people stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And I was like, I got my Eddie Murphy moment.
Wow, that's an incredible story. So much to unpack there because of some things you said that reminds me. First of all, when Eddie Murphy did Raw, and I saw both, he started to bring cultures together. First of all, later on, I mean, look, there's nothing funnier than Coming to America when he does the Jewish guy.
Right.
In the barbershop, and people don't realize it's all him. And he says, they should call you the three putzes. So just great stuff. But I have to tell you that he also did something that for the older people, he did something about the honeymooners for one of those with it was inappropriate, but he did the voice of Ralph Cramden. But you set the bar pretty high. You mentioned legends. You mentioned George Carlin, whose brain, I don't want to be in his head for more than 20 seconds, and Eddie Murphy. But this reminds me of a story. I know some people who tell the story that when Buddy Rich, the famous drummer, was in town, he had hurt his arm, and he did a set. I think he broke his arm and drummed with one stick. Wow. And he was so great that 3 of the people who went, who were aspiring drummers, quit.
Oh
because they
my
said, if this
goodness.
guy's doing that with one hand, I'm not doing this with that kind of thing. So it's amazing that you had that reaction, that you set the bar so high. But on my show, Ernie, we often talk about the story behind the glory. So what obstacles have you faced throughout your career?
Beautiful. Well, so the reason I got into comedy was I'm the first person in my family to go to college. Several of my cousins ended up going to college, but right after high school, I went into Loyola Marymount, and there's my degree right there. Right there. All right. And before I graduated, I got kicked out of Loyola Marymount. First person in my family to go to college, to becoming another Latino statistic. I've been saying that line for 25 years, and
Right.
it was devastating for me. When I got kicked out of college, like I felt like a loser. I started having suicidal thoughts, and just like I was like my mom's pride and joy to being like this loser. Like, what is he going to do with his life? And then I had a conversion experience. I took this life-altering transformational seminar called the Landmark Forum. And in that forum, the seminar leader said, if you know in your heart you're a performer and you're not performing, you're robbing the world of who you are. And I was like, oh my goodness, I want to be a comedian so bad. I hadn't started my comedy career. I was in college, getting a degree in psychology, got kicked out, had this life-altering transformation. And then I realized, you know what? In order to be me, I need to fulfill this destiny of college and make my mama happy. So I got back into Loyola Marymount, worked really hard, got back into Loyola Marymount. And the day I graduated, I was like, I did it. But then I was like, what do I want to do? I really want to be a comedian. So once I had that college degree, I started doing comedy. And the thing about when I first started comedy, I had taken this inspiring seminar, and through that process, I learned all these inspirational quotes, and I met guys like Les Brown. I saw a video of Les Brown, and Les Brown say, "It is better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared." And I was like, "Hey!" So I learned all these motivational things, and I got all inspired, which empowered me to get back into college after getting kicked out. So when I started doing comedy, I was a rookie. I didn't really have any material. I was up there trying out jokes, and I'd get a couple chuckles, and then at the end I'd be like, and don't forget, you can live your dreams. Or I'd be throwing in some motivational speeches at the end of my performances, and all the comedians are like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Don't be doing that live your dreams crap, bro. People come to comedy shows to forget about their life. You're making them think about their life. And I was like, oh no, dude. So I stopped doing any of the motivational stuff, and I just tried to get funny. And I'll say, Mark, it takes most comedians 5, 6, 7 years to get to a point where you're consistently funny. So I did that. And I'm glad I ended up doing that, because I ended up meeting some amazing guys, got on a bunch of TV shows, and honed my craft. And then I became one of the top Latino comedians in the country. But that took probably 6, 7 years to have happen. So that was where the comedy career began. But I had to put aside the inspirational and the motivational speaking until later on in my career.
Wow. Well, I have to tell you that it's an incredible story, but people throw the word empowerment out there very often lately. I present at schools, and I have a company where I have a women's empowerment coach, Donna Palmer, a friend of mine, and empowerment is like a new buzzword. So I've heard empowerment coach, women's empowerment. Do you know how many times I've heard empowerment comedian? Never. Woo! So let me ask you, and I've been in education over 33 years. What does empowerment mean to you?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So I believe, and I've been saying this for 20 years, I believe I created the genre of empowerment comedy in a seminar with Landmark Education, that program that had me get back into school. And the seminar was called the Breakdown Seminar. How do we effectively handle breakdowns? And the thing that they taught us in that program, which I still teach to this day, is we get to choose our experience of our circumstances. Our circumstances, life just happens to us. We can't control what happens. What we can control is our response to them, our reactions to them. And in the Breakdown Seminar, you can either look at a breakdown as a breakdown, or you can look at it as a breakthrough, as an opportunity. You get a flat tire on the way to an appointment. That's a breakdown. Or you can say, dude, how fast can I change my tire and still make it on time to this appointment? That's an opportunity to just become great at dealing with breakdowns. And in that seminar, I created myself as an empowerment comedian. I said, I want to do motivational speaking, but I don't want to even call it motivational speaking, but I want to be a comedian too. It's like, I want to be like an empowerment comedian. And when I said that, everyone in my group was like, OMG, Ernie, that's it. That's it. So empowerment to me means we give ourselves what we already have. Oh, that is so deep.
Yeah.
We give ourselves what we already have, which is the power to transform any circumstance and any situation in the present moment. We always have a choice to transform how we're relating to what's happening to us. And that's something I teach to this day to thousands of kids. There is nobody on the planet that isn't dealing with stress and trauma and regressing back to old memories or regressing back to old behaviors. But the power comes from being able to see it, to distinguish it. Oh my gosh, there I go again. There I go again. I'm doing that thing again. Oh gosh, I always do this. Whenever I get stuck, whenever I get hurt, whenever something goes wrong, whenever it goes a way I don't want it to go, there I go again. And the moment we can step back and distinguish it, in that moment, we have the power of choice. We can choose to keep going down that path, which sometimes we do. I don't care. I don't want to be empowered. I'm just going to stay here and eat my Ben and Jerry's and get under my blankies.
Right.
But at least you can make that choice. And sometimes that's a powerful choice to make. I'm going to stay stuck. I'm going to stay a little disempowered. But at least you're doing it. And then in that moment, you're able to choose something else and say, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, but I got to get out of this situation. Why am I getting goosebumps, Mark? I'm just talking here.
You're spitting gold lyrics over here, my friend. So
I love it.
I have to tell you, such important stuff, and I have to tap into that a little more. So, and I've done the motivational speaking and things like that too, and it's so parallel because what I say is, I'm getting goosebumps because I say there's bad news and there's good news. Here's the bad news. You can never control everything. Never. Here's the good news. You can always control your attitude about everything. So I love your words, but when I say it and you say it, nothing yet, that's all powerful, but nothing yet speaks to comedy. So now we have to tap into and flip the switch to how Ernie G does it. Your tagline motto is inspire, empower, ignite. How do you inspire people through comedy?
For me, it's telling my genuine, authentic story. When I tell students all the time, when you have the courage to be fiercely authentic, we all have, we have our upsides. And I teach a mental health workshop to high school and college students all over the country. And now I'm teaching it to adults because adults need it as much as young people. But one of the things that we teach in these programs is, if it is to be, it is up to me. Like, life happens to us, but if we're going to get through these things, we have to own this power. And so much of what keeps people stuck is the attitude of victimhood. Like, this happened to me. How can I do anything differently when it happened to me? Well, yes, it happened to you, but how you respond is in your control, is in your power. And for me, I grew up with a single parent. My parents were never married. My mom met my dad salsa dancing, and 9 months later, boom, Ernie G. And I used to be ashamed of that. I wouldn't tell people anything about that. And then I met this like a cholo, like a gangster kid at a high school. After I tell him my story, and he goes, "Hey, bro, can I talk to you for a second, dog?" And I was like, "Oh, what did I say, dude? What did I say?" He said, No. I want to give you much respect, bro. I can't believe you put yourself on blast like that. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Hey, my parents were never married either. And until I heard you speak just now, my whole life, I thought it was a mistake. But after listening to you, I realized maybe I'm not." I said, "Bro, God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, it doesn't make mistakes. You're here for a reason, and your job is to figure out why you were put on this planet and give your life over to that." And he was like, "Much respect, bro." And when I have the ability to tell an authentic story that is like super genuine to my experience, and then you see that impact other people's lives such that they get in touch with their stories, you know that you're tapping into gold. And I've just told all these horrible stories about getting kicked out of college, about my parents never being married, about my dad having 6 kids, all from different my dad had 6 kids, all from different mothers. He was the ultimate papi chulo. And I used to be ashamed of that and embarrassed about that. And then I realized that because I've been able to heal my trauma around all of these things that have happened to me, I discovered through my process that healed trauma becomes your superpower. When you can heal the things that have ailed you, when you can forgive the people that have hurt you, you become a stronger version of yourself. And then when you share that authentically with people, you touch, move, and inspire people to get in touch with their trauma and maybe to heal their trauma. So I always say now, healed trauma becomes our superpower. Man, this is deep, bro. A lot of people are going to be watching this one, dude.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. And I want to go in reverse a little bit. You mentioned your mother twice. You mentioned I have to go to college, go back to college. I want to make my mama proud. Walk me through the conversation, if there was one. I'm sure there was with your mother. With, okay, glad I made you proud. Here's a degree, and now I'm going into comedy.
Oh my goodness, that was not the plan that my mom was hoping that I would.
Think so.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for a picture right now. So this was my very first comedy CD right there, Mama's Boy.
CD, what's that? No, I'm kidding.
My comedy CD. I know people don't even have those anymore, but that was my very first comedy CD recorded in the year 2000. So my parents were never married. I was raised by my mom, and so you know, as much as I found out later that she contributed to a lot of my trauma as well, all my mom, and I think this is pretty universal, all my mom ever wanted was for me to be an educated American boy. My mom was born in Mexico, and her dream, and I got to fulfill her dream for her one time. Her dream was to go visit Mount Rushmore because she saw a postcard in Mexico as a little girl of los presidentes de los Estados Unidos, the presidents of the United States. And her dream was to be an American and to raise an American, an educated American little boy. And when I got kicked out of college, when I got into college, we were broke my whole life growing up. You know, I have all these hilarious stories about poverty and stuff, but my mom made sure I went to Catholic school my whole life. She couldn't afford it, but they charged her the minimum. I think she paid $50 a month for me to go to parochial school. So I went to Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school. Then I got into Loyola Marymount. And so when I got kicked out, her life, it was devastating. And that's why I had all these suicidal thoughts. And that's why my mental health went kaput. But then I had that conversion experience when I took that seminar, and I realized that it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. Mm-hmm. And I got back into college and I graduated. And that day I graduated, she was like, "Oh, we did it. We did it." So when it was time for me to say, "Hey, listen, I want to be a comedian," I actually quit grad school. I was going to get my master's in social work. And I had this profound insight, like, do I keep doing what my mom wants me to do? Or do I honor me and honor the still small voice within? Not the voice that keeps us up at night worrying about things, but the still small voice within. And I realized I need to do that. I need to honor that. And obviously for the first few years of me doing comedy, my mom was like, "I can't believe." My mom was so embarrassed that I was a comedian. She worked for the county of LA, and every time new job postings would be posted, she would send me in the mail like a printed out sheet of all the job postings. And then one of the positions was janitorial supervisor for the county of Los Angeles. And the qualifications were degrees in sociology or psychology. And I have a degree in psychology. She would highlight the degree in psychology and put a happy face next to it and mail that to me. And I'm like, "Mom," my very first TV appearance was on Comedy Central's Make Me Laugh. 500 comedians auditioned and only 20 of us got it. And I got it. And I beat out guys like Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, and Felipe Esparza, all these famous comedians. And I got on this Comedy Central's TV show, and I called my mom. I go, "Mom, I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be on TV." And she was like, "Oh, that's nice. When was the last time you went to the dentist?" I'm like, "What does that have to do?" She's like, "The comedy doesn't have benefits. You need a job with benefits, mijo." So she was devastated. But I'll say this, my first birthday bash, when after a couple years in comedy, I had a big birthday bash and I had probably 300 people show up and I'm performing jokes and I introduced my mom in front of everybody. And from that day forward, she was like, my son's a famous comedian.
Yes.
My son's a famous comedian. But in front of me, she never brags. But when I'm gone, she's like, my son's on TV all the time.
That's great. And I have to tell you, in closing, we only have about a minute left. So I spent a career, as an English teacher in my other life, as I call it. And I was pretty good at taking quotes from literature and saying, let's unpack this. I want to unpack something. I don't know, you said it, but I want the viewers to know how powerful it is. This encapsulates Ernie G. You said something. This would be something on Jeopardy. Things that have never been said by anybody for 100, Alex. You said, I have some hilarious stories about poverty. Said no one else ever. So I have to tell you, that whole thing, I could now do a 42-minute lesson in school about what does that mean? What's hilarious about poverty? Well, it's the whole mindset. It's the whole attitude. So Ernie G, I just can't thank you enough for being a guest and sharing your incredible experience with us and your empowerment comedy and how it affects other people. I just want to say quickly to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, our YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe. Ernie, thank you so much for being here.
Awesome, brother. Good meeting you.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.